beep, 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 beep. Jester. Ginger beer. Good evening, good Jesterites. Welcome to the court of the EDI Jester. Right, you'll have seen that I put out a blog with the curriculum from Oak National Academy, which is a place that's just appeared from nowhere since last year and appears to have garnered itself quite a substantial amount of government funding in order to produce curriculum materials for schools, which schools are not in any way honour-bound to take, but are being pushed by the DFA. Gillian Keegan, yes, the Education Secretary, mentioned it in an article in the Telegraph, which was an interview with her about her general life and what she's been up to. And she stated what her ideal situation is, that there will be a central hub, and she's going to ask the Oak National College to do that, to provide a hub for schools to get PSHE materials from. And they do other stuff, okay? Well, this pricked my interest, and as you know, I did a video where I was ranting excitedly and rather worriedly about what was likely to happen next. And I only took a very cursory look at what they're up to, and their curriculum is a nightmare. You know, that's also in the original blog on my Substack. People have come back to me saying this is unbelievable. I mean, it's the most behaviourist stuff you've ever seen, and it's schools essentially doing things they have no right to do, none. Now, I might try and cover that another time when I've had a look at it in a bit more depth. But what I wanted to do first of all was trying to find out what was going on with this Oak Academy. And the easiest way to find out what's going on with any organisation, and particularly a business that is receiving government funding, is to go straight to the top, which is what I have done. So what do we find? This is my next piece of information for you, which is now available on the blog on Substack, which was published at the same time as this video. Oak National Academy, how deep are they in the gender woo-woo? Right? Woo-woo. I love it, gender woo-woo. And then the subtitle being, we the public should know, so who is running the show? And I went to take a look at their CEO, who is obviously a very successful individual. He's an OBE and also does some tremendous work. There are at least two other organisations he's running, and it looks to me from what they're doing some fantastic work on professional development and on the ability for people to get involved and, you know, get some stuff done. This is all good stuff. None of us can deny that. So I was at first quite heartened to see the record of this gentleman, who is called Matt Hood, and he is the CEO of Oak National Academy, until I did a bit more digging, in which case listen to what I've got to say, or read it if you prefer not listening to me wobble, wibble, and generally whiffle, right? Other than that, pin back your luggles, my lovelies. Matt Hood, CEO of National Academy, who have been given unprecedented support by the D.of.E., who endorsed their materials. He also runs other ventures that look incredible, with a fantastic emphasis on professionalism and helping children and adults learn. This is a good man. He wrote an article in response to the parents protesting in Birmingham in 2019, and it is worth reading, because it illustrates perfectly how gullible gays like me, and sadly him, fell for the grift that is gender identity ideology and queer theory. You can read that whole article by going to the website that I've linked to in the Substack. In the article he states, with concerned parents on the streets outside primary schools whipped up by a small number of Section 28 advocates, the messages are sent around and the organising begins. We dust ourselves down. He's talking about the gay community at this point. We dust ourselves down, climb up on the shoulders of the giants who fought for equality last time, and prepare to fight for it all over again. So here goes. I need to use my best teacher voice for the first point so the folks at the back can hear. Stop conflating loving relationships with sex. Good point. The obsession that some people seem to have with what goes on in the bedrooms of same-sex couples is frankly bizarre. Good point. It is also a straw man. Nobody in any school anywhere is talking to 5-year-olds about sex, gay or otherwise. Oh, 2019, mind. Long time ago now, folks, isn't it, in this scrap. Nobody is talking to 5-year-olds about sex, gay or otherwise. They are talking about loving relationships, that some classmates have 2 mums, some 2 dads, some one of each, and some a wonderful smorgasbord of other combinations. What he's talking about there is, the various types of families that are available, which I have not met one person in this fight who doesn't think that children should know that, not everything's 2.2 kids and Mr. and Mrs. Nobody wants children to think that, because there's no point in them thinking it. It ain't bloody true. Right? So we need children to understand that we can have different families. This is 2019, remember that, okay? I then wrote, this simple but heartfelt passage now seems bizarrely innocent in the cold light of day and with hindsight. I truly believe he had no idea at that point that the protesting parents had genuine concerns and he might want to abandon the righteous cause mentality that this passage appears to indicate drives him. He then continues. The law in this land is that everyone is treated equally. It is a law that minority groups, including the LGBT plus community, fought hard for, and one that we should all dearly cherish. Contrast it with the law that changed this week in Brunei. The LGBT plus community there now face death by stoning for being who they are. That's not true. Right? It's not true. It's gays and lesbians, or gays in particular. Framing lessons about LGBT plus issues as belonging in a moral grey area simply dog whistles to this small minority of Section 28 advocates and attempts to create a murky haze around a simple principle. We're all equal, and that's not up for debate. With that clear, let's come back to the BBC's question. When we knock the they are teaching about gay sex straw man down and silence the morality dog whistle, what we're left with is a simple, more pertinent question. Is it right for 5-year-olds to learn about all kinds of loving relationships in school? The answer is straightforward. Of course it is. And then I continue. He is so naive. But that was then. What about now? You know as well as I do that many of us were tied up in it. Many of us didn't quite get how bad it was going to get. Many of us didn't understand the full picture. And I'm going to do what I always do, which is, benefit of the doubt, mate. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Matt. All right, okay, that you weren't up to speed and that you didn't know or that you weren't aware of exactly what this was. I think that's fair to give you that benefit of the doubt, quite frankly. So we really do have to remember that we are talking about something here from a long time back, 2019, which seems like a huge amount of time now when we sit here and think about it. It does seem like a huge amount of time, doesn't it? It's funny how it goes fast. So after that point, I then go on. Does he realise the juggernaut that lies in the LGBTQ plus crackpot collective is the antithesis of teaching about loving relationships and inclusion? Is he unaware of how deeply dangerous queer theory and gender identity ideology is? Has he read Trans by Helen Joyce, or even Time to Think by Hannah Barnes? Does he understand what iatrogenic even means? I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and things have moved dramatically. Oop, I've lost my place, hang on a minute. And things have moved dramatically since 2019, when in fact he supported Andrew Moffat openly on Twitter. And he's got a tweet there which you can see in the article. Solidarity with the wonderful Moffat Andrew, at Moffat Andrew, who in 2019 is having to make the case for basic LGBT rights on national radio. We can't pick and choose from the Equality Act. I'm sorry, Matt, but I think at that point, wherever you were in your life, you didn't understand A, what was happening to gay men, and B, that the Equality Act was being perverted. I don't think you understood it. I don't. I really don't. So up to that point, I give you the benefit of the doubt. He also criticised the parents protesting at the Birmingham school in 2019. Pleased to see response to Section 28 advocates ramping up in Birmingham. If they don't like the law and that public servants follow it, then they have 2 options. Don't use the public services or organise, like LGBT plus community did, and get the law changed. This is a fair comment apart from the inclusion of the T and the plus. Fair comment, right? Except, of course, he wasn't looking close enough. He wasn't looking close enough to what these people were saying. He was already at the academy, this is the Oak National Academy, when he was alerted to the dangers by Stiltish, or Tish, online. And I put a link to Stiltish's Substack there, so you can see what, to the link to the tweet from Stiltish, so you can see what she said to him at that time. In more recent times, he advocated for the programme Heartstopper in 2022, which cemented in many people's mind the erroneous social construction of the trans child, by including a 16-year-old called Elle, a representation that was in complete denial of the reality of indoctrination into the gender identity and queer movement that the trans child represents. He also appears to be part of the Be Kind Brigade by a second tweet that was done at the same time, or a similar time, which is also worth looking at. Again, links to all this are in there. He said about Heartstoppers, "I know I'm late to the party, but I just watched Heartstoppers. It was simply wonderful. The impact Kit Connor and Joe Locke will have on LGBT kids in the schools as a result of their incredible work on this will be profound, and the tour down memory lane they took me on was pure joy." That was May 19th, 2022. The two links to @Kit Connor and @JoeLocke03 have both now lead to closed Twitter accounts. So, that's where he's at as of 2022, by the look of it, right? And I stumbled upon this from 2020. You can make of it what you will. Because to me, sometime between 2019 and when his article made sense, and 2020, something happened that made him so self-loathing and homophobic that he would lie about gay history, erase us from our own history, and replace us with the ultimate intersectional cuckoo in the nest, the black trans queer. He was messaging Reebok about an advert which I can't see anymore because it's no longer there, but here's what he wrote. Reebok have a particular responsibility to act as they are sporting their pride logo. A movement started by black transgender queer community in New York. How dare you, Matt? How dare you? You're a gay man! You can't wave our rainbow flag 1 minute and then back this type of garbage the next. The rainbow flag has nothing to do with the garbage you're spouting. You mean the progress flag, that vile, chevron, stunted abomination. His response on that particular tweet, which was from 2020, his response on that particular tweet to Reebok has only a number of explanations. Either he is a TQ plus activist running a new Quango, a stupid person running a new Quango, or an ill-informed person running a new Quango. I hope it is the latter. If it is not, then this individual and his organisation will need investigating deeply before any teacher uses anything they provide. Parents need to resist now and hard before the LGBTQ plus influenced curriculum and the extraordinary mission creep of activist teachers usurp reality and your parenting for good. Because we know the template crosses the curriculum, and before you know it, John, who is a non-binary individual, has 10 apples. He gives 3 to Jane, who is a trans child. How many does non-binary John have left? You have to understand that this is a template. It goes not just PSHE, it goes across every subject. English, history, maths, physics. When we look at their curriculum, which I'm going to do, I hope, which is identitarian led, you will see that it can be placed across any subject. These teachers aren't teaching, they're indoctrinating. This company isn't actually requiring them to teach, isn't providing stuff to help them teach. It's providing stuff to help them indoctrinate your child into a way of thinking that you, believe me, do not approve of. Power and oppression, identity. Sex doesn't exist. Men can be women. Women can be men. They are lying to your children. I would suggest that Matt, whatever has happened to him, because he's gone quiet since 2022, for someone who's received such a large amount of money from the government, whatever has happened to him should watch my videos, The Letter to Gay Men, and an analysis of queer theory. Though by the look of the last tweet, it is unlikely to make any impact at all. for he may have fallen to untruth and unreality, and as a fellow gay man, I weep for him. Perhaps Matt would like to add both these to the ridiculous PSHE curriculum that already exists, because children deserve the truth.